Bracken is a native fern. It's a natural part of mature woodlands, but it can cause problems when the trees die naturally or trees are harvested because you get a lot more light reaching the forest floor. And bracken causes problems when it gets more light because it tends to grow very vigorously, and also it's got a very extensive system of below ground roots or rhizomes, and that competes very strongly with young tree seedlings for moisture and for nutrients. And most critically, what can happen in the autumn when the foliage dies back, it can physically swamp young tree seedlings and it can kill them. Bracken also harbours sheep ticks, which can spread Lyme's disease, so it can cause problems when people walk through bracken or brush past it. They can get tick bites. Bracken is often thought of as a weed that needs to be managed, and typically in open moorland or in pasture, the aim is to replace the bracken with an alternative, more desirable ground cover. But in this situation, we only really need to suppress it for 3 to 5 years, sufficient that the very young small tree seedlings can then establish. Bracken is quite difficult to control. You can cut it, you can crush it, or you can roll it, and that does work, but typically you need to do that, repeat that treatment for many, many years, perhaps 5 to 10 years, to actually weaken the bracken. And again, that's not really practical when you've got young tree seedlings there, because you'll damage the young tree seedlings. You can also, in a woodland context, you could just cut the bracken back around the seedlings themselves, but again, you'd have to do that every year for 3 to 5 years, so that's quite a time-consuming business. So historically, herbicides have been used when there's no non-chemical alternative to suppress or control the bracken. So for that reason, we've recently set up some research and published the results in a scientific paper to look for alternative ways of managing bracken. We investigated how well the herbicide imidazofuron controlled bracken. So imidazofuron is a herbicide that's used extensively in food production, particularly for wheat and barley. And we tested it to see, first of all, how effective it was in controlling bracken. And we also combined it with various different spray adjuvants. Now, spray adjuvants are chemicals that you can add to herbicides that can sometimes help to improve their effectiveness. And they do things like spread the spray more evenly over leaves, or they help to penetrate through leaf waxes better than just using the herbicide by themselves. But there are hundreds and hundreds of these different spray adjuvants, and it's very difficult for foresters to actually know which, if any, will have any benefit. So we tested various different spray adjuvants with this herbicide imidazofuron to see how well it controlled bracken. And then when we found a combination or combinations that seemed to be effective, we also looked to see what effect it had on tree seedlings. We found that using a low rate of this herbicide imidazofuron coupled with a spray adjuvant called Mixture B was actually very effective, and much more effective than we thought it would be at controlling bracken. And we also found that this low rate of herbicide was tolerated very well by quite a wide range of tree species, both coniferous species and broadleaf species. It means that in the future, if we've got a scenario where we've got young tree seedlings that are being swamped by bracken that might otherwise die, and we've got no other means of managing that bracken, no other practical, cost-effective non-chemical approaches, which would always be our first resort, then we've potentially got an approach that we can use that will control the bracken or suppress it for 3 to 5 years and allow the tree seedlings to grow, and hence we can regenerate our woodland. We need to do a little bit more work just to confirm the tree tolerance on a wider range of tree species. And the other caveat is that currently this herbicide, although it's approved for use in food production, it's not currently approved for use within woodlands. And so what we might do in the future, if there's the demand from foresters, we might apply to the regulators, the Health and Safety Executive, and ask them if we can in future use it on a limited basis within woodlands to release trees that might otherwise die from bracken competition.